Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this morning's Saturday morning property show. And today we are going to talk about what do tenants want. We're going to look at the 5 insider tips to maximise your rental home's appeal. And I'm going to say it's profit.
That was quite funny when you said there's a wee bit of delay in the broadcasting system, and then it went on.
I know. I know. I put people on it and just done it straight away. Yeah, I know. Anyway, we're here. But yeah, so yeah, I did say obviously your rental properties appeal and profit, and when times are good, it's easy to think that tenants will rent anything and at any price. But when the market changes, and we know this all too well, Jim, and there's more competition from other rental homes and other property on the market, your property can quickly lose its appeal. It happens, and you know the market peaks and troughs, and when it does really trough, you better have set yourself up so that you could obviously ride the storm.
That's when I think this comes in a lot. Just off the top of my head, what I've learned over the 30 years I've been in buy-to-let and property investment is that's when all the wee improvements you should have made when you were on a high. We talked about this already, isn't it? On a previous show, didn't it? All these wee drip feed things you should have done when you were bringing full occupancy, when you were getting a high rent, when you were getting a really good quality tenant. All these improvements, the small wee marginal improvements you should have made all the way through the process and in the property improvement itself over that time will give you a huge boost when the market declines a wee bit because you'll have your tenant that will stay with you longer.
Yeah.
Well, everybody else is scratching the dirt for a tenant, and like I can't afford to have my property empty because here we go. The rent was to cover the mortgage.
Like, oh my God. I just need to cover the mortgage. Yeah, I know.
Oh no, you're joking. And it's like, no, I'm going to pay double council tax. Well, you should have foresaw that coming, and you should have worked it out beforehand. And this is why it's so important to have the 5 insider tips to maximise your rental home's appeal and profit.
Yeah, and I think people that are into the industry, maybe in the last 5 years or so, they might not even realise that it can get back to a time where
no idea.
You know, there's oversaturation of property. I mean, to find a tenant is really difficult, and I've been through it.
I remember when some of my properties sat empty for a year.
Yeah,
and some of the less desirable places that I had, you know, it was foregone conclusion. I was quite surprised, but you know that's what happened because a combination of maybe legislation, combination of the financial circumstances of a lot of people, combination of oversaturation of buy-to-let properties in that area, therefore led to a perfect storm. And at that one time in the 30 years I've had these properties, because I bought these properties in the beginning, some of them, they had sat empty, and some of them sat empty for a year. Was I able to weather a storm? Absolutely. Because I had the foresight to be prudent enough and conservative enough with a small c, just point out, to actually understand you have to put away money for a rainy day just in case anything substantially happens, and you could weather that storm. And that storm, by the way, will be coming up soon in the budget in November with the current government just now. The writing's on the wall, remember. They're not the most appeasing to landlords, second homeowners, investors. They're out to raid our coffers because of this supposed black hole the other party has left in the finances, which I think is just a ruse to say, but we were going to raise taxes anyway in the very beginning. We just didn't want to.
We're always going to do it, and this is their excuse to do it.
I do think that is. So this is what you need to do. So definitely let's into this. I think the most important one is possibly the fourth one that we're going to talk about, but we will come to that. So hang on in there, and we'll talk about that. And we will mix some of this information in the other ones as well. So you'll get to hear all the way throughout there, based on my own personal experiences, probably one of the biggest landlords in Scotland, of what I did and how I did it in order to weather a storm, but also to when the good times come. Oh yeah, boy, do the good times come!
Yeah,
I'll tell you.
What's important as well, Jim, and like you, but the last few years, and we've done this quite a lot, is obviously reinvest and really doing a lot of upgrades and taking the opportunity when you're on a high to really make sure you've got the best stock. outdated homes, you know, they could really mean a lot of calls coming through, a lot of repairs together with more tenant changeovers and all that, while falling further behind with the market and never really reaching their full income potential. And that's the problem that some people face.
This is you know what it's like. The analogy I would give, it's like paddling just now where we are right now in the buy-to-let market. You should be paddling like on a surfboard out in the sea right now, waiting for the next wave to arrive.
Yeah.
Because the next wave will happen at some point in time and it'll be happy days again. But you want to be paddling out in your surfboard, not on the shore, waiting to see the wave in the distance. Because by the time you get out, you've lost the wave. You want to be paddling and consistently paddling. And this is what this is all about, really. To be consistently paddling all that time on your surfboard, waiting for that wave to appear. And when you get that wave, boy, can you ride the wave.
Maintaining your momentum. We spoke about that last week on the wealth creation show. We spoke about maintaining momentum, and it's that kind of, you know, keep yourself turning, and then you're ready to hit that wave. You'll be at that point of readiness when that next wave comes.
Of course. Exactly, every single time.
Yeah. So people might ask, so what can I do to keep my property in demand for years while also protecting your profits? And there's a good start. And it's to explore what tenants want around primary considerations like what we're going to cover today. So
well, let's talk about straight away then, Richard. Let's talk about reliability and practicality. What's your thoughts on reliability and practicality? Put my teeth back in.
It's easy for you to say. Yeah, from little things to big things, and in rental homes, old and new, 21st century lifestyle demands thoughtful touches, stylish design, a kind of blank canvas that's really on trend, within a bright and uplifting environment. Really on trends, quite obviously, keeping things on trend. So some of the key essential things include that fresh and neutral decor. Think warm walls and washable paints and real wood floors, a decent shower for happy morning starts. You know, if your target audience is a family unit, have a good shower in place. And even dimmer switches and just those slight small changes that make things feel that little bit more contemporary, but aren't really a great expense in your budget. You know, and maybe little dimmer switches and things could add that extra bit as well. We talk quite a lot when we do these property shows about maximizing natural light. Natural light is free.
I know, it's free anyway, isn't it? It's free. It's like, oh my God, why would you then put loads and loads of curtains and blank out windows and board things and oh dear. And the lighting as well, definitely. When you come to the natural light, we're talking about maximizing natural light and what you need to do that. And you find ways to lighten dark corners by inserting glass panels into solid doors and enlarging, make sure they're safety approved, by the way, and enlarging windows or adding roof lights as well. But more importantly, adding the necessary lighting in your house. Use the LED daylight lights as your bulbs. You know, they're only 4 watt, 4 or 8 watt.
They're better for your EPC rating as well.
Yeah, but they're also even better for energy consumption, but they're even better for light. It's like you've got them on, but you actually don't realize they're on in the room. And it brightens up the whole room like it's natural sunlight coming in through the window. That's what daylight bulbs do for you. So, and I've got to say, it's got to be Philips. That's their brand, Daylight. You know, they call it the Philips Daylight, you know, LEDs. So that's the sort of things you've got, because that's clean light. So that's clean light. That's not your yellow tint or your, you know, orange tint or anything like that. It puts all the colours out in the room. I mean, why go to a shop and you've got, oh, I love that colour. And then you come home, you put it on the walls, and then you put completely different lighting in. And it's like, oh,
that's not the same as what it was in the shop.
That's not the same as the shop. It's not the same as in the shop. It's like, I know why it's not the same in the shop, because either the shop's manipulated the light or you've got the wrong light. It actually changes that colour.
Yeah, lighting's so important in a property, especially when you're trying to attract the right people.
Makes it look fresh.
Yes, the fresh and light and airy feeling can be created quite cost effectively and easily, and it could pay dividends, to be honest. think about the property, and think about the space in a property as well. Do people work from home? Think about your target tenants. Do they sit at a dining table with their laptop, or do they need a designated working space or privacy to do work things, or they need somewhere where they could sit and close off at the end of the day? Do you know? Think about who you're targeting here. Working professional, family, or a working family.
Yeah. Now, see, here's a good tip for you. If you've got a wee box room or something like that, that could be the perfect home office for someone.
Yeah.
If somebody's working from home, therefore they're no spending all that money having to commute into work, so they're saving that money, and they're also saving the time, which is probably the most important commodity they've got, is their time. Because you didn't get time back. You can always get more money, but you can never get more time. So the key here is then, if you can save them that, then you're probably clearly going to get a premium by providing a wee area, which could be a home office, rather than the dining table, which you're constantly told by your partner to clear for the tea.
Yeah.
That feels a bit raw. Hence the reason why I'm in a completely different room to the dining table in lockdown.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it's a common thing, and it's when you actually put yourself in that mindset and think about what your tenants would benefit from and what would really make it more attractive to them, you could make these little changes that will really make it appeal. Finally, looking around the property and fixing anything that's fiddly and loose, handles and things. Nobody wants to learn knacks about how to open the kitchen drawer or shut the kitchen door, work around wobbles or listen to leaky drips or anything. That should all be put right. These are all these small things that will mount up to making a tenant unhappy and ultimately will leave. So put everything right. Give your tenants that durable home that works without any fuss, and you'll have such a longer and more stress-free tenancy.
Yeah. Remember, this is all about long-term capital growth and minimum changeovers, minimizing the changeovers, and also maximizing the rental income, and probably taking a lot of stress off yourself if you're a self-managed landlord, or even a lot of stress off yourself as if you've got a letting agent as well, because the letting agent's still going to come at you to make decisions on things that you need to be doing over a certain price point, because you've maybe skimped on it in the past and you're not really sure what to do. So this is what this is all about. Probably the next one for me then, Richard, and if you could elaborate on this a bit, is having the space for stuff. We all know what we mean. It's never the sexiest subject, but often more frustrating issue for tenants, the amount of storage space in a property. And it will make all the difference, really, doesn't it? But between someone feeling at home or in a temporary digs. So I always like to say we give them a house and they make it a home.
Yeah.
So what sort of things should we be looking at to do that with your property, to add significant value to the tenant's journey and also the rental income and also the capital appreciation over time?
Yeah. I mean, one of the main things that I always get asked, and one of the main things I know that tenants look for, I mean, parking and things is all up there, but storage is right up there. And unfortunately, there's plenty of tenants that end up living out of boxes, piled up in corners, because there's not anywhere to hide their stuff or store their stuff. And it's often why they end up leaving, which then obviously affects your occupancy rate, it then has an effect on your income. So think about that, and think about whether your property has enough storage and whether they have somewhere to put everyday household items like the vacuum cleaner, the ironing board, suitcases, shoes, the mop and bucket. Do you know, I could go on, ladder, bicycle pumps, cleaning products.
Cleaning products and everything. Yeah, and that's probably one of the most important things, because it's not just the fact of the rental income you lose if somebody leaves the property, it's the cost of relet as well. So you might have to spruce the property back up again because it's maybe just not right. The tenant might not have been able to cover all that cost, possibly, because they've only got a deposit, which is equal to the first month's rent, and they've not got any other ways and means of covering anything else. So are you going to take them to court and spend all these legal costs and trying to get these costs, or are you just going to suck it up and get on with it? That's mostly the right answer, that bit, the latter. That's the cost of that as well. But you've also got the cost of the utilities, which you have to take over. And some council tax areas, they maybe don't let you away with an exemption for the empty, when the property was empty and unoccupied and unfurnished. So they might not let you away with that, and you might have to pay a certain amount of council tax. So it's everything else involved in that. And all for the point of paying a minimal cost to keep the tenant happy and just making sure everything's fixed on time.
Yeah. The next thing I'm going to say, and this will resonate with you, Jim, because we've actually experienced it recently, is having enough cupboards and shelves in the kitchen for as much food and crockery and the number of people that actually live there. So, do you know, is there a cabinet in the bathroom as well? That's something that if you've got a family, but kitchens for me is a big thing, because you got a family in there, or do you have a couple in there? Do you have a single person in there? And we've had it recently with refurbs we've been doing on yours, and one person didn't put enough. Wasn't going to put enough cabinets in.
He put enough cabinets in for a 1-bedroom flat, and it's a 3-bedroom we've got.
Yeah. And then on the flip side, we had another contractor wanting to put more cabinets in, and it was a 1-bedroom flat.
Yeah, 1-bedroom flat, and I was like, you didn't need that breakfast bar and the cupboards underneath, right across from it, because there's only two people at the most living in that property, and you've got cupboards all the way around in the L-shaped, and then you've got cupboards all the way at the bottom in the L-shaped. And it's like, where's the problem here?
Yeah, it's too much. There's too much storage for that property. But yeah, but the original one was, I think, was it a 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom? And we had the kitchen going in, and it didn't have enough cupboards, and it's like this is going to have a family in it.
The other flip side of that is then you stick a shed out the back garden, one which we did with the property you now have that you got off us.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that shed out the back garden was deliberately designed for people to put their bikes in, because you still got that brand new bike. It's never been out, possibly.
No, I sold it.
Did you? Right, okay. Did you ever use it?
No, I didn't. No. Well, I just thought, what's the point? I'm never going to get on it, so I sold it.
Oh dear! You should have kept it. There's only about, what is it? August, September, October, November. There's only 5 months to Christmas. You could have given it back to yourself again.
Yeah, no.
And then you could have set your New Year's resolution again.
To cycle, yeah.
Oh dear. Yeah, you're absolutely right. No enough cupboard space. I'm never a fan of putting something on the walls in a bathroom or shelves, but I am a fan of having a freestanding, a wee cabinet in the corner. Maybe it's got the wee shelves in it to put all your toiletries, and then underneath you've got a wee cabinet to open up, and then possibly having the right towel racks. I love that idea, and I've not put them in any of the properties. I love the fact of the towel racks that you can have. You get in the hotels over your bath, and they just sit up there. The chrome things. Yeah. It's like, I really like that idea, but I've never actually got round to implement it at all, because everything else works anyway. So what's the point? It's just added cost to something that maybe isn't necessary.
We put in the heat and chill rails though, so they're there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're there anyway, so it doesn't make any difference. But I just like the idea of having somewhere to put your towels.
Yeah.
Rather than actually just hang them over the end of the bath, because they never really technically dry out as good as they could.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think also as well, and when we talk about storage, is having built-in wardrobes, and whether that's a built-in wardrobe that's there, or whether you incorporate maybe the mirrored sliding wardrobes, which are a really good use of space if there's room to do that. They're highly space efficient. They make bedrooms feel larger because you've got the reflection, and then behind that you've got shelving, hanging, and storage and things. And they remove the need for them to have freestanding furniture, which taken up further floor space. And then you've not got the hassle of bringing lots of furniture in and out, and then you minimise scuffing on walls. I mean, I've seen some terrible removals. The result of them, yeah. So you minimise that as well. So if you've already got that wardrobe storage space in place.
I'm often quite envious of the hotels and that, how they build the Premier Inns and the travel lodges, and they have the rooms and they've got the ensuite and everything. And I think, God, if our rooms in our houses were just a tiny wee bit bigger, we could actually put that layout in there. And I think it'd be really good for flats. But unfortunately, some of them were built, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Some of them are built 90 years ago. And they're not adaptable to that sort of layout. And yet that sort of layout seems to be kind of the right way to go forward when you're building something now. Definitely in terms of the floor plan and stuff like that. So, I get it straight away. Having built-in wardrobes is probably a big plus, because then somebody's not having to cart things in and out of the property, therefore risk marking everything and damaging everything.
Yeah.
Plus the fact you've not got a big huge imprints in your floor, where it would be. So I definitely think there's a benefit to having loads and loads of space available for someone, and you can't get enough storage, I would say.
I don't think you could ever have too much storage, to be honest. People bring and own quite a lot of things. So I think as well as a kind of bonus, having hooks on walls. You know, I listed one the other day, and you come in and there's really nice hooks on the wall as you come in. It's a country cottage, and I thought that's what a perfect area, coats and bags and shoes and everything. And it's been designed like that, and it's got the hooks on the walls, or even on the backs of doors and things as well for dressing gowns and towels. That will save obviously your tenant maybe trying to put stuff up to do that. Save your walls, save your fittings and things. As tenants try to attempt with drills and screws and things. Seen some savage attempts at it over the years. So if you've got all that in place, then the tenant's got that to use, and it reduces obviously then repairs at the end, trying to rectify things that have not been done.
Something that you're not going to be able to do anything about in the next wave of rental legislation.
Yes, I know, with the new legislation,
basically saying that that's okay for them to do that.
They're allowed to do that. Yeah,
that's mental, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get on to things. So we've talked about the reliability and practicality of things. You know, the things about fresh, neutral decor and all the rest of it. We've talked about having adequate space, and you know, is there sort of, you know, should we be looking at things about making sure people feel safe and secure? A classic example was the other day. I was on this blog, and I think I shared it with you, about this guy that actually thought it was okay to leave the person's window unsecure. In other words, the hinge had bent on it. And because they were up on the first floor, he says, well, that's all right. Nobody's going to get up on the first floor because they're not on the ground. And everybody else leaves their windows open at night anyway in that street. So that's okay. No to fix it today. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute.
That's the security.
Surely the tenant should have the right to have the ability to actually make their house safe and secure.
Yeah, definitely.
And, you know, this is what we're talking about. So how important is it then in feeling for a tenant and feeling safe and secure in the property?
I mean, before we get into it, first and foremost for me, if your tenant's not going to feel safe and secure in their property, they're going to leave. They're going to go and find somewhere else that they feel safe and secure in. So creating that sense of safety and security in a rental home goes beyond having just that sturdy front door. It's about giving your tenant peace of mind and an all-round settling down feeling so that they want to stay there for a long time. Ultimately, you want longevity out of your tenancy. So there are some tangible ways you can do this, and they include obviously be clear on your plans and preferences, whether you want to have your tenant forever or just for a year. Be upfront at the start and establish. I know obviously here in Scotland with the PRT we don't have a fixed term, but we make it a point of our process to establish with the tenant from the outset, how long do you plan to be here? Are you going to be here for 3 to 5 years? Are you going to be here for a year? Are you going to be, do you want to look, you're looking to be in here indefinitely? Do you know, so we've got that common ground and agreement. Obviously nothing's set in stone because you can't do that with the private residential tenancy. But yeah, being cagey in that at the beginning about what your expectation of the tenant is, just kind of breeds more of the same.
More of the same.
Like that, and then nobody knows.
It's quite important you said that, Richard, at the beginning about, you know, the fact that the PRT restricts us from actually being able to fix a tenancy or determine how long they should be staying there. However, there's certain ways to actually discuss with them, probably without them knowing, really, to be honest, how long their intention is to stay. Now, every landlord wants a tenant and wants to stay in the long term and actually look after the property and pay the rent on time and actually never be antisocial. And that's the ideal tenant you're after. So there's ways and means to actually screen them properly, to make sure that actually make sure that actually that tenant is actually sought. Now, once in a blue moon, you know, it'll not go according to plan, but you can minimize that risk as much as possible, can't you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and making the tenant feel secure is paramount. And like you said about the windows and things, invest in security measures like really robust locks and on doors and windows, and maybe security lighting if there's really dark areas or dark pathways that lead up to the property if it's flats or whatever, to deter potential intruders or really enhance the tenant's sense of safety within their home ultimately, and that will really make them stay a lot longer. And then that I think as well, it really proves that you're a pro by giving the tenant that out of hours contact number and that option for emergencies. Obviously, we do it as part of management. We're there. They get a whole move-in part with the whole emergency out of hours process and what they need to do and how they do that and we'll be on call to do that. Addressing issues promptly when that situation comes around, and then performing regular maintenance inspections and things, and have a schedule for doing that, and keep to that, and the tenant and informed of that. It just creates that relationship where you think, right, I'm in good hands here, I'm being looked after, I feel safe, this is my home, and that's ultimately where you're going to have a good tenancy.
Yeah, it's the ability for them to be able to pick up the phone and actually be able to have things solved within a reasonable amount of time. Yeah. And if it's an emergency, actually have it resolved possibly within a 24-hour period, if not that same day. Yeah. And that's probably the best thing I ever did. Is remember at the end of the day, we're in a service business. We're there to serve the tenant.
Yeah.
A lot of landlords forget that, by the way. It's not the tenant's there to serve you, it's you're there to serve the tenant. They're paying you for that. They are the customer, not the other way around. So you're there to serve the tenant to the best of your ability within the means that you've got and what you've agreed at the outset and the parameters to do that job and execute the instructions that you're required to do as a landlord. You've got a duty of care, definitely.
Definitely, yeah.
And I think that's true there. And I know, there's potentially a few letting agencies out there and even landlords out there that just don't want to deal with tenants outside hours. Nope. They're not interested. They don't actually lift the phone. Now, these are the ones that give you the sort of bad reputation, and then the mud sticks to everybody else, and it's like the typical, oh well, that's all the way private. Wait a minute. According to the government, in the whole of Britain, there's about 20,000 what they call rogue landlords. Okay, there's 2 million landlords in the whole of the area. So there's 2 million. So if we take 20,000 and divide it by 2 million, just let me get my numbers right. I'm calculating more. 1%.
A very, very minute amount compared to
1%. 1% of the landlord population, if not less than that, believe it or not, because I think there's a wee bit more landlords than 2 million, but probably less than 1% of the landlord population are the ones that are rogue landlords, according to the government's figures.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, it's not my figures; it's the government's. Yeah. So this spurious claim in the media every single time about landlords, no looking after their tenants, being not above board and all the rest of it is a huge majority, if not insignificant, in the whole thing. But nobody wants to come on the telly and say a landlord's brilliant, do they?
No.
That doesn't sell.
Yeah, I mean,
imagine the uproar. Imagine the uproar, Richard, if somebody came on the television and a reporter was interviewing a landlord and says, so and so, congratulations, you're probably the best landlord in Britain. That's absolutely fantastic. You look after your tenants, they pay all the rent on time, and then all the tenants stream on as well and go, my landlord's brilliant, does everything for me every single time. I think landlords are absolutely fantastic. How do you think that would go down the news?
I know.
It'd be a huge uproar. Oh, my landlord's not like that. It's like, well, you'll find that most landlords are actually really good at what they do, as well as most tenants are as well. But
do you know, I think
our friend Paul, who is Tenants from Hell and Landlords program on Channel 5, is it? Channel 5, Paul Champollion.
Channel 5, yeah, Paul.
If you're listening, if you're tuning in, it's all right. We're not going to castigate you. But he obviously brought in to show that show, and that show is all about just putting a microscope on the minimal amount of the minute amount of tenants who are actually bad in the whole of Britain. Yeah. And again, it emphasises to a lot of landlords this stereotype of, oh, all tenants are a nightmare. It's like, no, they're no.
And I think what you say there, Jim, and it's when you look at things on the macro and the micro, and you're talking about obviously the country as a whole, but when I look at on the micro level, like obviously if I look at what we do and our portfolio that we manage and things as well, there's a very small percentage of problematic landlords and problematic tenants and these kind of issues. Yeah. So if you think about that, I mean, it's just a smaller version of the bigger picture. Do you know, the majority of tenants and landlords and everything are brilliant. I mean, and it does all work.
80% of your time in property management is dealing with 20% of your landlords.
Yep.
And tenants. Yeah. Because they're, and then it's eliminating these people if they're not going to do anything about it. It's actually just saying, look, you know, we're not going to represent you anymore as your letting agent, because we feel that, you know, what you're doing isn't the adequate response to the for the tenant's needs. Therefore, we're not dealing with it anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, and not just morally and things as well, but I think for our reputation and the legislation that we have to abide by, there's a lot. Some landlords just think, well, we can't work with you if you're not going to follow through on this. But yeah, back to the safe and secure, and I think when we follow all these safety measures that are covered, this will really attract the very best tenants, and this will give you that prospect of a well-managed and then ultimately a long-term home for the tenant. And it gives that feeling for them, which in turn then encourages them to look after the property themselves as if it was their own and stay longer. And that's where I think the safe and secure thing is so important.
This brings me to number 4, which is probably one of the most important ones going on from here, considering the governments are beating this drum and the whole world is beating the drum. You know, the governments around the world about eco-friendly features. I mean, energy prices have really dropped from their peak, but utility bills and eco-friendly features are still a major consideration for tenants. From a practical concerns to the you know, to the feel-good factors. A lot of tenants are really that bothered, but a lot of them, when it comes to running costs, then begin to work out as well. Wait a minute, this could be a lot more better than what it should be, and I shouldn't be paying like 300 or 400 quid a month for a 3-bedroom flat. That's ridiculous. Somebody when they start comparing it with other people. So among the many other options to do this without spending a fortune, you could actually reduce energy consumption by installing an A-rated appliances. So if you're providing appliances, just install an A-rated one. Room thermostats is a great one as well. On the actual radiators.
TRV.
It keeps and this is my bugbear. You know this because I walk into the office and it's like, why have you got that thermostat fully open, when in actual fact that thermostat is designed to measure the temperature in the room and then switch it on and off in the radiator for the heat when it actually gets to the right temperature and when it drops from the right temperature. And you've got it fully open, and everybody's like they're in the Bahamas with their shorts and t-shirts on.
There's no happy medium when you've got it like that, because then you turn it down and it's too cold, and then you turn it up, you're too hot.
So that's what room thermostats and efficient radiators are for. If you've got painted radiators, which have seen better days, and they're the old style double fin with the double return valve on it as well, they're ancient. You shouldn't be using them anymore. You should be getting rid of it. What does it cost? It's like 150 quid to get a new radiator installed.
They're quite inexpensive.
Get the new radiator. Don't paint it. Get the new radiator. Get the TRV on it with energy efficiency. Get a proper valve in and out rather than the double return on the same thing, which isn't efficient anymore. And it just improves the energy rating of your property, but also improves when you come to remortgage your property. If the energy rating improves, you actually get a slight decrease in your mortgage interest rate. So, and instead of getting 5.25, you'll end up paying 5.05 or 5.15. You'll get 0.1 of a reduction in your interest rate, all because you were doing that and you were doing it anyway. But the benefit of that is you get the reduction in interest rate, which is a small saving. It's not great, but it's a small saving. And then you also get energy efficiency for the tenant, tax deductible, by the way, for your improvement you just done. It's writable off right off straight away against your income. So it's not a capital improvement. It's actually an energy efficient improvement. So you can write off straight away. So you've got the benefit of that and minimizing your tax bill as well. And then the tenant stays there longer because their energy bills are a lot lower as well as a result of that. And the price of your property goes up ever so slightly because it's now got energy efficient improvements in it because the EPC is going up as well. So see how the knock-on effect and the marginal gains just to changing the radiators and putting TRVs on them, it could actually improve that significantly when you're added all this together. Smart meters are really important as well. I've just found out in Spain, I'm getting huge rebates on my place in Spain right now because I've realised it's like they've been reading my meter and charging me for using the property when I've never been there.
Oh, really?
And they've not been reading the meter, they've just been estimating it. And I'm getting hundreds upon hundreds of pounds paid back to me as a result of that. It's a long story because I don't speak Spanish. Jim. I should do. I can get by, but it was very difficult to navigate their system because it was all in Spanish for their utilities. So now I've got it sorted out and all the rest of it. Even the whole complex, everybody in there is all getting rebates as well as a result of that. So we're all getting money paid back to us for the reason. So that's it's quite important to do that and have a smart meter. And down in England as well, you can put water restrictors on taps. You can put them on showers as well. So you can have now a lot of people think restricting the water on your shower would actually be less of a shower, but you can get really clever attachments now.
Pressure.
Which actually increases the pressure but reduces the water going through it. So you get a really good quality shower. So it gets rid of all the soap on your body rather than having a huge amount of water coming on, which actually takes a huge time to actually get all the soap.
Get some really good shower heads which are energy.
And then I've got to admit, Richard, and I do it in some of the offices I've got, a brick in the toilet.
Or you get these you get the infill things.
The Hippo bag.
Something like that.
So the Hippo bag was there from years and years ago, but you also, the old trick used to be put a brick in the cistern, and it just takes up that bit of water. And if you're having to pay water rates over a period of time, it compounds and saves you money as well as a result of that.
Yeah.
So that's all these reducing energy consumption, installing radiator appliances and stuff like that. I mean, make your property naturally warmer with low cost yet high efficiency measures like filling the cracks and around the window frames. Classic, just a bit of mastic, put them down, in and out. Also, it stops water coming in, which could be rotting your window frames underneath, and it could be rotting your floor for all you know. And then that could cause a real issue later on. So, that's the type of things you want to do. Fitting draft excluder under doors and around letterboxes. Now, you still get help. And some of your tenants are on certain benefits and stuff like that, and they've their own pension credits. They'll get them all done for nothing, as well as sometimes get a new boiler put in for free.
Yeah, the boilers are still going about. There's still options to do that, as well as these smaller things and you'd be amazed when you put draft excluders on doors and letterboxes and things, the difference it could make.
Add an integrated recycling and composting separator into the kitchen. So basically a recycling bin with three different bits and stuff like that. A rainwater butt in the garden for watering the plants. So you basically come off your downpipes on your gutters, and it goes straight into a tank, and then you could just take it out of there where you're watering, and just water the plants. An outdoor washing line for drying clothes when the sun's at up heat. And also, if you've got a big enough room and you've got a separate laundry, maybe even consider a pulley for someone in the laundry. We've saved an absolute fortune. I bought a 6-foot pulley, and I thought, I'm going to buy it and see how we get on. And it's like, see, when it came in the winter, we never hung anything outside at all because it would never dry quick enough. But we just left it overnight, and we had the heating on anyway in the winter in that room. And I tell you what, it dried out no bother. Plus the fact, if you stick a humidifier in there, it sucks all the water out the clothes, therefore they dry a lot quicker as well. And I tell you, I slashed my electricity costs by about 1/3 just with putting a pulley in. So it's well worth it for some people. So you could easily see how embracing sustainability and finding ways to reduce running costs are powerful steps that can truly resonate with tenants. I mean, they're also excellent news for your business and especially the bottom line.
Yep, it's all about the bottom line.
We shouldn't talk about profit. Oh dear, let's not go down that road again.
But the thing is, people might talk about, we say about profit and bottom line, but they must notice if they listen to us that we also talk about the betterment of things for the tenant and improving the tenant experience, because ultimately that's what's going to improve your bottom line and your profit.
Of course, every single time. It's a false economy to think about it. It's not about saving money, it's how do you increase your turnover.
Yes.
And you don't need to charge the tenant more. You can, if you've got special energy efficient measures that they're benefiting from. You could take a wee cut of that. That's understandable. It makes it easier life for the tenant. That's why they're paying you for it. After all, they can just go somewhere else if they don't like what you do. But it's all about, you'll get more money on the bottom line from increasing your turnover as you would actually trying to save some money on skimping, you know, and effectively what I like in it, it's like having, you know, your fat on the bone. So literally, I mean, there's no fat really there, but if you've got, you know, around your waist, classic example. So if you think about that, it's about trimming the fat in order to make things efficient, but not to the point where you start to cut into the bone. So you can make cost-efficient measures to your business model in terms of what you're doing. If you've got one property, then you can still make cost-effective measures. There's ways to do that. There's small marginal gains, and they will compound over time anyway to make you more money and put more money into your pocket. But the most important one is actually to increase the top line, which is out of having a higher occupancy rate, out of possibly getting a better deal because you've got energy efficient measures, and your mortgage will then therefore go down as a result of that, because you've got an energy efficient property, and the bank will reward you for it, and other various things that could happen because you attract a better quality tenant who's in a position to pay substantially more because they're earning substantially more as well. So they're quite happy to do that, to have the place that they want and be looked after and have that service level. Remember, an Audi is literally just a Skoda with a different engine, a different body on it. That's all it is. So why is a Skoda 22,000 and why is an Audi 29,000? Do you hear anybody complain about that? No. So it's the same with tenancies. Some tenants will pay you significantly more for exactly the same property because one's like an Audi and one's like a Skoda.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's all these things that implementing all these things that then ultimately improve the tenant's experience, which in turn will create success. And then that's when we come to creating homes, really. And homes with a heart is what we're going to talk about here. And it's creating convenience and comfort and space for really joyous times. And these are magnets for great tenants if they feel like they could have that experience in a property. Do you know, whether they're spending time alone, whether it's with friends, with family, with other housemates, do you know, whatever the situation or setup might be. I mean, some examples are like a low maintenance outdoor space, and whether it's a patio, sorry, it's my slang coming in, or even just a balcony, for sharers, or a lawn area for families to enjoy time outside. Keep it simple, to care for and low maintenance, and leave tenants to choose if they want to display, maybe if they want to have plants and planters and all the rest of it, and the decorative side of it. But give them that opportunity in that space and that canvas to make it their own enjoyment space.
How important are sociable rooms then in a property?
Yeah, sociable rooms where people can come together. Kitchen, heart of the home. You hear everybody saying it as one of the most popular ones. Do you know, from an open plan living room or the kitchen where you've got the dining table for whether it's sharers or couples, or the large kitchen hub for families, that are so important to fall into line with what their lifestyle is going to be like, whether it is the big family unit or whether it is just a couple that like somewhere to sit and dine at night, or do you know it's so important to have these rooms within the house. And do you know, or even family rooms, I think, as well, where children can either have playrooms or the TV room, some people call it, or even just space in the kitchen where families can cook together. Do you know, a lot of people do that, and that's where at the end of busy days and things, people come together and they cook things and then sit and have dinner. So definitely.
I mean, if you're going to stereotype it, you're kind of coming back to the Italian family sort of thing, where they're all round putting the pasta together, and everything else that goes in with that. You can see I'm influenced by adverts.
You watching Domino?
Yeah, that's the one. It's like see anybody that tells me advertising doesn't work, so it's basically no telling the truth at all. Of course it works, because why would Coca-Cola then advertise, even though they're the biggest drink company in the world? So think about that for a second. That's why advertising and marketing definitely works, especially marketing, the right strategy in terms of how you're doing it. So how important is then the next one? This is the controversial one. Not for us, to be honest, but for the government, seems to say this is a huge issue with tenants, is permission for pets.
Yeah, it seems to be such a big topic and such a big deal. And I stress to every landlord, and if I meet new landlords, that we have multiple. I mean, a big part of what we manage, tenants have pets, and it's not the pet. It's if somebody can demonstrate they're a responsible pet owner, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. So yeah, permissions for pets. I mean, people with furry family members are often willing to pay that bit extra, or in fact, they're always willing to pay that bit extra. We kind of class it as a pet deposit. I mean, soon we won't be able to do that, but people are more than willing to pay that bit extra, and that demonstrates that they are obviously serious about looking after their pet and looking after the property. And if you've got that wee bit extra in the deposit, then you've got that wee buffer if things were to go wrong. Do you know, if some damage was to be made?
A nice one to do as well with people who have pets, in order to qualify them, is say to them, can you get a guarantor?
Yeah.
Because you'll know straight away. You'll know straight away if they're trustworthy. If you're in a wee bit of doubt, you know, your sixth sense actually says, "Oh, there's something no right." It's like as soon as you say, "Can you get a guarantor?" you'll know straight away from the fact if they can get a guarantor, if they are even creditworthy or are they even trustworthy overall in terms of how they do things. Because then they'll stay that, oh, mum. I've even heard people say, "Oh, well, my mum. Oh no, my mum will no guarantee me because this happened the last time and that happened the last time." And I'm like, flipping heck. It's like, you're just giving the game away, pal. You may as well know I turned up. And these are the sort of things you could ask people, and they'll just openly tell you without them actually knowing it. But that's a skillful way to do that as a letting agent, definitely, and as a strong negotiator, to do that without anybody actually realising it's actually getting done. And an easy way to start screening out tenants and actually knowing who's going to be the right person, the right fit for that property overall.
It's knowing how to ask one or two trigger questions and then just letting them answer. And they could give you all the answers within about 2 or 3 minutes of talking without you interjecting at all. But yeah, definitely. But pets and pet owners, I think as well, don't write them off. I mean, the time will come soon in Scotland where they will have a right to rent regardless. But don't write them off, because I think if you've got a pet owner who's really serious about looking after their pets, they'll probably be the most conscientious and consistent tenants you'll have. And
well, do you know what happens next?
Yeah.
Is they'll not go anywhere else anyway, because other landlords are like, "Oh, I don't like the idea of pets." Great. I'll keep them in my house forever.
Yeah, of course.
If they're paying the rent, they're looking after the property, and they're no antisocial, job's done.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think that's a really important thing to remember. But I think if we're summing it up on the homes with a heart thing, it's about where you could find and add some soul into the property, where families and people could see themselves living as their home. Put yourself in the tenant's shoes. Consider whether you'd live there. You've always said that, Jim. Would I live there? If I wouldn't live there, I wouldn't want a tenant to live there.
If you can't love the property yourself, no one else is going to love it.
Yeah.
You have to look at that property and think, I would live there. Definitely. I had this conversation with Sophie the other day, actually, about Taylor Street. I went,
yeah,
I love Taylor Street.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what? It's like, I love it because it's right next to Leiden. It's right next to the train station now.
Right
I would go back there in a heartbeat. It's a minimal cost to run, and it's an easy gig to get anywhere because the central location is in. So why would I know? It's like I could easily go back there. If it all went wrong tomorrow, I'd just move back into 163. I've still got it. And I would just move back into that. I thought it was a fantastic flat, 2 floors.
It's a big flat as well.
Yeah, I loved it. I definitely loved it. And I still do. And that's the difference. Because when you love the property and the property is done in a way which you would say, yeah, I would move in there, then the other people are going to see that as well. Definitely. It's the same when you come to sell a house. Every time I go in to see somebody selling a house, I went, what did you see in this when you first bought it? And they go, oh, we saw that, and that. I says, that's exactly what the person that's going to buy it is going to see in it with them. Because they'll see what you saw. And that's why you bought it. That's why they'll buy it. And it's a great way, because then you can engineer your whole marketing strategy around why they bought it in the first place, because that's why someone else will buy it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if you can't see yourself living in your own rental property, think about the reasons why, and then look to remove those reasons. How could you remedy that? And that's then got you onto a winner.
To be honest, Richard, it's usually change the kitchen, or change the bathroom, or decorating
Some of
carpet.
the fundamental things.
It's the fundamentals. That's why they're not wanting to live in it. Yeah, definitely fundamentals. Because as soon as you close the door, it's fine. You know, that's what Sophie said to me. You know, it's all in the street and the neighbours and stuff like that. Not the best, but as soon as you close the door, it's brilliant. It's a palace.
Yeah, she said that to me. She was like,
yeah, it's like, so why? And I said, exactly. And I said, and it's a really affordable. Why would you want a big massive house that's going to cost you an absolute fortune and spend you when you could actually live there and you could actually squirrel away all your money and you could save and build wealth and develop long-term wealth over time? That's exactly my strategy.
Yeah.
Live way within your means. That's how to do it.
Yeah.
Let's finish off there. What's your final words on this, Richard?
Well, just to round up, I think obviously we're looking at all these points today. Then you should really be asking yourself, as your rental property, what your tenants want or what your target audience tenants would want. If not, then you really need to think about the things that we spoke about today. Hopefully, listening today, you've realised that maybe we've got quite a lot of insights. If you want any advice or questions or anything, I've put my direct mobile and email in the blog that's attached to this post. Feel free to reach out to me at any time. Any final things from you, Jim?
No, that's fine. You've said it all perfectly well. As I said before, I've said most of the stuff and throughout this conversation about, you know, what you should be doing, how you should be doing it. I think where you can add the most value in terms of what you're doing as well. And as a landlord, as an investor especially, that's what your ultimate goal is. Your ultimate goal is to maximize your investment return, not necessarily at the cost of the tenant's welfare and the cost of the tenant themselves. A harmonious relationship between the both of you and a win-win situation where you both come out on the winning side.
Definitely.
Couldn't have written that better. I'll need to write that down somewhere.
Brilliant place to leave that, Jim. Thanks for that. Thanks to everybody for watching, and we'll see you next Saturday. We'll see you on Monday, the Wealth Creation, and next Saturday for the show as usual. And I'll see you all later, guys.